So I was gonna just go ahead and open it up to Q&A if anyone had any questions or anything to ask us.
What's your guys' opinion on how some people claim that Mary didn't necessarily have to be a virgin, according to because of the original Hebrew word being Alma, I believe, is the. And some people interpret that as being like she was just a young unmarried woman. Um, what's your guys' opinions on that?
So what's their argument?
So people argue that it's possible that she wasn't a virgin because the word, what is it, Alma, or whatever was used in the original Hebrew text, was meant young or maid, and not necessarily, or mainly just an unmarried woman essentially. And so like the whole virginity concept to them is like it's like in their mind shouldn't be like she's possibly like um could have already conceived him kind of thing in a natural sense, but she just was unmarried at the time, um purely just because of what they say the original word is.
Okay, I'm looking up the
Alma.
original word.
Yeah, the original word is Alma, and it was used multiple times, I believe, but because there's a separate word for virgin in Hebrew, and they didn't use the word virgin in those particular texts.
I'm not sure how much it actually matters in the grand scheme of things. You could have been born to a virgin, a prostitute, a princess. I mean, I don't think the word for son of God changes.
Well, so in Genesis, it comes from the prophecy is that it will be the woman's seed that brings forth our salvation, not man's. And DJ can probably help, but the distinction in that it needing to be a virgin birth is that it needs to be 100% thoroughly a God thing, because no human born by man will ever be able to fulfill meet all of the targets, hit all the targets for God's standard of glory. We can't do it. That's why it had to be this miraculous birth, because humans can't.
Well, that kind of sidesteps Vivi's question.
Yeah,
though,
I'm looking up the word. It's taking me time.
Well, yeah, even if she's not a virgin, that doesn't mean that it wasn't the child of God. It doesn't have to be the Son of Man.
CJ, did you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I've thought about that before, but I think I have heard, like, it's fun, like, I don't know if you guys are on TikTok. You always, like, particularly in Christmas, they bring up, like, all aspects of the Christmas story, like, combing through it. And I think I've heard about that. Without, like, thinking, like, without having studying it, I don't think it would have, I don't think it changes anything if the spirit, I don't know what the word is, like, generated the Messiah through Mary. You know, she could have been married or unmarried, or did, like, I think engagement at the time was technically marriage. I think is how they viewed it. It was the same thing as being married, which is why Joseph was going to put her away quietly or divorce her. So and so maybe she hadn't been with Joseph yet, or so I don't know. It's hard to say, but
so I'm
my thought
thinking.
is.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just thinking. My thought. Yeah, I don't think it would, if she was engaged, married, or whatever. I'm still do think it was a miraculous birth. I don't think the child was of Joseph, was of the Spirit, by faith. I believe that, and so from that, whatever her state was, I don't think it matters. But
yeah, I mean, a immaculate conception could have happened with any, like, But one of the reasons that I think that they chose a virgin also was for this is definitive proof that, okay, she hasn't known anyone, and you can prove that medically when someone hasn't, that she is a virgin, and this must be a miracle. I think that was one of the ways that they could definitively prove that. And I'm looking at the Greek here now for Luke, where it says virgin in Luke. And the word is parthenos, which means virgin or maiden. And it is particularly a woman who has never had sexual relations. So, Hebrew, I'm looking at the
they're
Greek,
pointing out the Isaiah 7:14.
the Isaiah. Okay.
Yeah, because that one uses Alma.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Greek for when it actually happened here, and it says parthenos, which is maiden or virgin. And it is
I'm
used,
just
and
it
I'm looking
I
at
hear about it every once in a while.
Yeah, and I'm looking at all the cross references, and all of the cross references are using the virgin definition or translation of that word. And everywhere else it uses that word, besides just talking about Mary. So, I mean, yeah, so that's a lot of things that a lot of people will do, is they'll pick out one thing and say, okay, our whole doctrine has changed now because of this one thing. And it's like, if I posted in the chat a BibleProject podcast called How Not to Read the Bible. And that was one of the things they said, is like, don't just pick one verse out of the whole Bible and then read it and then set everything that you believe about Christ on that one thing. You have to take it all. You have to look at it in context. You have to study it. And that, so whenever people are using these arguments against, I mean, and it goes on both sides, because Christians do it too all the time. Just look at women in the church and how women have been subjugated for thousands of years because of this verse that was taken out of context. You got to look at it all in the light of all of the scripture to see how it all relates to the big story, and not take things out of context. Not cherry pick your verses.
And that's how denominations form too.
Yeah, it is. Christianity is like one of the most majorly divided religions out there, if it's not the most divided. And because we're doing exactly that, we're cherry picking. That's my opinion.
I'd say it's a good opinion. I mainly just brought it up because, like, you hear about it once in a while, and I feel like we need to know. You know, the whole the seeking out knowledge thing and learning thing. It's part of being able to protect our faith too.
Yeah. And you also need to look at it later in the scripture where it talks about Joseph's response, because he found out that she was pregnant and it wasn't his, and he was gonna silently divorce her. If it was his, he would have shotgun married her.
He was packing her bags.
Yeah.
You gone.
So, well, he could have publicly shamed her, but he chose not to, which is good on him. But, so if you look at that also in context, then that's also proof that she was a virgin. Or at the very least, or because God went to him and said, hey, is she innocent? So, and you look in the context of the society of that day, if she had not been a proper maiden, a proper virgin, it's quite probable she wouldn't have even been marriage material. You got to look at it in the light of their culture and in the light of how they did things back then, and not take the scriptures and bring them into our culture and translate them our way. That's another thing people do. So it's good for us to study the scripture and know for ourselves, because it says it in the Bible to study and show yourself to prove. Know what you believe, so that when people come to you asking these things, you know what to say. That's actually one of the reasons that a lot of people leave the church at all, is because they're not studying, and then they'll come across a hard question and they don't know how to answer it, and then they leave. And I'm not saying that y'all are doing that. I'm just saying that's why we need to study, so we know.
Well, Coco, I'd say that was a good answer.